call to order the meeting of the Rutherford County Regional Planning Commission for October 27, 2025. At this time, I will be leading us in the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll ask everyone, please stand at this time. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we're thankful for the day that you have given us. We're thankful for this opportunity together to deal with the issues of planning for Rutherford County. Father, we're thankful for the county that you've given us. We're thankful for all the many blessings that we have here, but may we always remember that the blessings that we have come for you. Watch over us, protect us, and guide us, and give us the wisdom of what we're needing for this day. We offer this prayer in your Son's holy name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. I'm sorry we started a little haphazard there. As we started there, I'm working without a monitor, so I'm flying blind up here this morning. But we will begin with our roll call and determination of quorum, Madam Secretary.
Jim Averwater. Jeff Phillips.
Present.
Mike Cush.
Present.
Lee Bogle.
Here.
Charlotte P. Here. Trey Gooch.
Here.
Jim Thompson. Michael Shirley. Jason Beavers. Here. Amber Brown. Here. Pettis Reed.
Here.
You have a quorum.
We do have a quorum. We'll now have the approval of our minutes for October the 13th, 2025.
I have reviewed those minutes, and the October 13th minutes are in good order. Therefore, I make a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor say aye. They have been approved. Got an echo here, I believe. All right, public comment period.
We didn't have anyone sign up for the public comment period, Mr. Chairman.
No one signed up for a public comment period. Items withdrawn or deferred.
Nope, everything's still on the agenda.
Okay, we'll move right into our new business. Beginning with item A, submitted for preliminary plan approval. Kittrell Glen, 251002, 156 lots on 150.2 acres, zoned RM, located along Baxter Road, Cranor Road, Castle Rock Communities, Tennessee, LLC is the applicant. Mr. DeMasi.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you, and good morning, everybody. As you stated, this property is called Kittrell Glen. They are proposing to develop the property about 156 lots, 151 which would be for single-family homes. Remaining lots would be for common area, stormwater detention, or step lots. Minimum lot size is 15,000 square feet. This is zoned RM, so these are standard-sized lots. The primary entrance will be along Baxter Road. There is a secondary access proposed at Upper Glade Court, which is in the Baird's Corner subdivision, just to the north. That has access to Cranor Road, so there will be multiple ways in and out. This development will also use the step system for sewage disposal. This item was originally considered by the Planning Commission back in May of this year. They was deferred specifically for the applicant to address some safety concerns, especially regarding the recommendations from the TIS, Traffic Impact Study Review, that recommended the applicant perform a safety audit. We do have that audit. We have reviewed it. The recommendations of that audit, we can go into more detail if you would desire. However, most of those recommendations would be incorporated into the construction plan phase should this application be approved. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions, and our engineer, Mike Hughes, is also available.
Commissioners, any comments?
I do want to hear about the recommendations, Doug, just so if that can be in consideration of a potential approval.
Yeah, we can do it. Mike, you want to kind of handle that part of it? The safety audit, yes, sir.
Okay. So, like Doug said, they performed a safety audit and came up with several recommendations. Here's an executive summary of some of the things that need to be looked at. Lack of basic pavement markings, signage, clarity, vegetation obstruction, views and signage, missing stop control devices, substandard sign height. So these are just little items that they've come up with that need to be done, and we're going to get these incorporated into the construction plans. But it goes on and on of what needs to be done. So Ringwald, Craner, roadside safety concerns at the bridge, inadequate drainage, damaged signage in there. So we'll have to work with the development team and also with the highway department, because a lot of these are maintenance items that need to be done if this gets approved or not. So.
Anyone else, questions or comments? Commissioner P?
I was looking at the list. Lack of, if you'll scroll down, lack of pavement base, is that what it says? Lack of base pavement?
Markings.
And markings.
Pavement
and
markings
signage
and
clarity. That is the, all of Baxter Road is the lack of base pavement and marking and signage. Correct? Or how far away from Old Woodbury Pike is the entrance to this Kittrell Glen
Okay.
down Baxter Road?
All right, let me go to a map. So it is approximately right in this area here. It'll be this large parcel and this L-shaped, upside down L-shaped parcel, and then the step system is right next to Baird's Corner here. So their entrance on Baxter will be in this area here. And I'll show you on the construction plans, if I can, where I put those. Nope, not there. Okay, yeah, so their main entrance will be down here on Baxter. And this is Ringwald here, Craner up here, and this is the other connection into the Baird's Corner subdivision. And the design team is here as well as developers, if you need to ask them questions as well.
Commissioners, any other questions before we bring the, right over here?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Doug or Mike, is this going to be done in phases, or is this a particular phase? Will there be more?
I believe it's going to be done in sections, different sections. Not going to build them all at once. Now, as far as how many lots per section, I think that's something the development team could probably give you a better estimate on, but I would expect this to be done in phases, not all at one time.
Okay, thank you.
Let's bring the developer up here at this time.
This will be developed in sections. I would say we probably do about 50 lots at a time, so there'll probably be 3 to 4 sections.
So when you're ready for a section, you'll come back for final plat in sections?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Can you give me an idea of who the developer is? Have we worked with those guys before? Have you worked with those guys before?
Castle Rock bought out Jones Company, so we have worked with them before, yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'm very concerned about Baxter Road, which would be primary entrance.
Correct.
As the study shows, it is a substandard, well, it needs much improvement, especially for a development like this. And it's not one part of Baxter Road, it's the entire road that needs that improvement. So I have a hard time, unless you're going to improve the road from the entire Baxter Road, which will be affected, this is going to be a hard sell.
It's a pretty good jaunt from Woodbury to the entrance. I mean, we're closer to the Ringwald up there than we are to Woodbury. I mean,
But the
we can do
direct-
improvements in front. I mean, you're talking about 400 linear feet of road frontage, and you're going to ask us to improve multiple thousands of feet of road.
But you're asking to put 152 houses on a substandard road for this development.
Well,
So.
as
you're
Mike
asking
said,
us, but the direct route from Murfreesboro to this subdivision would be the larger portion of Baxter Road.
most likely, yes. But again, like Mike said, I mean, if we walk away, you've still got the same issues, and you've got subdivisions out there already.
But we don't have an additional 152 houses
Correct.
on a road.
Correct, but it's still, as you're saying, substandard.
Good. Anyone else? Anything for the? Okay. Thank you. I'd had a request from the commissioner in that area to make a statement. Commissioner P., if that's okay with the commission, we'll allow him to come forward this time.
Robert P., Commissioner on District 4, and as some of y'all have noticed, Rutherford County's pretty well full up, so now they're coming to the rocky uphill side of the county. That's why y'all are seeing me quite a bit more often. I don't know if you've got that. Yeah, you've got the map up there. Not only is this my district, but I own property adjacent to this particular build. But the reason I asked to speak is for several things. One, I have the same concerns Charlotte has for the infrastructure in that area. You know, we're talking about schools, which hadn't been mentioned. Kittrell actually is pretty much overcrowded now. It's at the point where not having portables, we'll soon have to have them. The roads in that area need a lot of improvement. The things that I personally don't like about any kind of development out in the rural areas is lighting. I like to sit out at night and watch the stars. Some people don't feel secure unless they got a street light over them. Now, I'm exactly the opposite. You know, I go out hunting at night and hiking and whatever and enjoy those kind of activities. And a lot of people do. But when you put housing at this density out in the rural areas like that, people have the opportunity to put their own lighting up besides what's put up in a subdivision. And personally, I have a problem with that. Anyway, what I'd like for y'all to do, and it's not just this one, I won't repeat myself. You've got another one coming up behind this. It's also in my district, and I have the exact same comments to make on it. But I might ask you to look at what you intend to do with Plan Rutherford. You know, Plan Rutherford spells out what we should be doing in some of these rural areas, and I would like for y'all to take that in consideration. As far as a recommendation, unless there's a zoning change, I won't get to vote on this at the commission level. But if I did, the minimum I would ask for is the road to be improved in front of these properties and turning lanes whenever they're meeting the roads. And that would be Craner and on Baxter Road in this particular one. And on the next one coming up, that would be Floration or Coleman. I'm not sure which side he's going on the next one. But again, I'd like for y'all to keep in mind the Plan Rutherford that we've got in place and see if that can help preserve some of our rural areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners? Further comments, further questions, or motion?
If I may make a comment, Mr. Chairman, or two.
Yes,
Just
sir.
briefly, thank you. Regarding Commissioner P's comments, and, and I appreciate him bringing up Plan Rutherford, and I agree that, we need to look at the recommendations of that whenever we're looking at any kind of development in the county. I do want to just at least make the point that these developments that we're looking at today, both this one and the one that's next on the agenda, both of those were submitted prior, or I would say under the other adopted, the formerly adopted long-range plan that we have. It's not that the principles and things in Plan Rutherford don't apply. I just think I want to make sure everybody is aware that the zoning, of course, after the adoption of Plan Rutherford was not changed. As I know I've talked about that many times during Planning Commission, mentioned it during committee the other day, the Public Works Committee, and we'll, reiterate that to anybody who asks, even with upcoming public hearings we'll talk about in a little bit. But I just want to make sure everybody understands the regulations that we have in effect are what we are going by right now, regardless of what plan is adopted. And even if we had adopted a new plan and adopted zoning changes, these particular developments were submitted prior to that and have to be considered under those existing regulations. So I just want to make sure everybody is aware of that.
Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Director.
Mr. Chairman, I do have another just clarity that I am curious about. On this development, for how it stands, it's one way in and one way out with the potential to another access point on the backside of the property. Is that?
Correct. They're showing, right, that they're showing the main access point's going to be off of Baxter Road, as Mike had alluded to, and as Commissioner P had mentioned just a moment ago in his comments. But you can see, and Mike's zooming in a little bit there, there's an existing connection over there to the Baird's Corner subdivision, Upper Glade Court. When they get to that section, that connection will also be made. Now, my guess is that probably be one of the later phases. They do have to, develop at least a portion of that road to get to the step system, so that may be, and maybe earlier than I'm anticipating it, but usually they don't make those connections until later in the game.
Okay.
But
I
there
just
will
want
be
to make
two
sure
ways
there's an
in.
option, because I just have a concern with that much traffic coming out on Baxter from just the main access point.
Right,
It's
at one
just a lot of
time,
traffic.
yeah, at one time they were actually looking at Craner Road, but that's where a lot of their good soils are, so they needed to reserve that area that Mike's showing right there. That was an option I think they were looking at originally, but because of the fact that they needed those soils, they couldn't have they couldn't put a road through there.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mike, could you tell me what the lane widths are on Baxter and Craner? And there were no recommendations in the traffic impact study to put any turn lanes or construct any?
Right. Answer your second question, yes, they evaluated the turning warrants, and they were not required because of the lack of opposing traffic in the area right now. So going back to the safety audit, they do detail quite a bit. So they go down each road in each direction. So here's Baxter Road going north, and they show out a few items. Let's see. I was thinking it was in here somewhere. And then going south and westbound on Baxter, I believe I can measure. If not, why don't I just do that, because I'm not seeing it right now. Sorry, a little sensitive this morning. looks to be about 20 feet on Baxter. About the same on Ringwald. And a little bit shy on this section of Craner, about 18 feet. Just depends on where you measure. Yeah, about 18, 19 feet on Craner.
You believe that to be pretty consistent throughout this segment?
Yes, yes.
So the improvements they did talk about in the traffic impact study included signage, you said like
Signage,
warning
clear
signs for
clear
curves
signs.
and
Yes, sir.
some of those? Because I
Yes,
know
sir.
that'll be pretty important for just the increase over time, time in traffic, excuse me.
Yes. So, like clear zone obstructions, power poles close to the pavement, let's see, no stop bar, pavement striping up here at Ringwald and Baxter, limited sight distance, and I'll zoom in a little bit, y'all can see as well. Because of the vegetation, some road surface cracking they call out. No white pavement striping on the outer edge. Let's see. Just clear zone issues, power poles very close to the edge. Signage needs to be updated. You can see it's dated. This slow sign needs to be brought to the current MUTCD, which is Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. Let's see. Existing culvert work, mailboxes on the edge of the road, stop signage located on the wrong side of the road needs to be on the right side and replaced. No stop bars. So a lot of these are maintenance issues and just geometry issues. But like I said, we would work with the developer and the highway department to work together to make these improvements. A lot of vegetation can be cleared out pretty easily. Large trees close to the road located outside of the clear zone where they've grown into the road. Things like that. Culverts, distance from the road, close to the road edge. Just on and on. They did a pretty thorough, detailed evaluation. There's a damaged power pole.
And I do understand that the distance from an arterial or something is quite far away. But as we look at these, I know they stated 400 feet of road frontage, but you could have 50 foot of road frontage and go back to 4 square miles of houses. So we got to look at the impact of the total number of houses on that roadway. So
Yes, exactly.
do you feel comfortable that those suggestions or recommendations in the traffic impact study would adequately make for a safe location or safe function of that roadway for those people?
Yes, sir. It's going to need a lot of work from both the design team and the highway department. So with all these done, yes, it could make it safer. I mean, you could have the perfect road, perfect design road, and you
Well,
have the human factor, and it all goes out the window.
Back when these were made anyway, it was
You're
based
right.
off wagon trail and the easiest
Exactly.
path and tight curves,
Exactly.
so we understand that. But over time, as well as this develops, or if it develops, you talked about opposing traffic, and I can see that only increasing over time.
Yes.
And so I know we can't go back into the past and have someone install a turn lane because now the traffic is increased to such. I'm just trying to think of the best way to balance this out over looking down the road for planning purposes.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
But I also just didn't want to set this up for failure on either of our parts if it was back to the 16-foot roadway width. So at least we have 19, 20 feet consistently
Yes, sir.
throughout.
Yes, sir. And I I would say that I take my recyclables to the Craner Recycle Center, and it is a curvy, windy road, but I can do 30 miles on it easy. You know, it does have the same issues that, well, it was mentioned in this safety audit, but, you know, I don't have any issues with it.
Did they recommend a change in posted speed limit on those as well? Because isn't it typically 45 unless
Yes.
posted otherwise?
Yeah, I think well, a lot of it's 30, but I mean, I can do 30, no problem. I don't recall lowering the speed limit was one of them. I could be wrong. What's that? Yeah, I don't remember seeing that either. Let's see, there's a 35 on Ringwald. We could ask the sheriff's department to do a speed evaluation there, and have that possibly evaluated for lowering as well.
And I know I'm not a fan of the density, but this far out, but also recognize the fact that if the regulations allow it at this time until we make those changes, that we're sort of bound by that. But overall, I still want to talk about the approval.
Right,
We have to
right.
approve it just because of that.
So-
But
And with this safety audit, I mean, it's, like we said earlier, it's going to be incorporated into the construction plans. And if the construction plans are not approved and.
Certainly.
And it does not progress from there.
Yes.
It's just sits until we feel comfortable that these improvements are made.
okay, thank you for that information.
Okay, I see 3 commissioners. We'll start here, then we'll move down to Commissioner Beavers, and then to Commissioner Brown.
Mr. Chair, Mike, you're saying they are in charge of making all the improvements of this safety?
Them and the highway department. So a lot of these are maintenance, in my opinion, are maintenance issues that need to be done, whether they do this development or it, you know, does not get approved. And they still are improvements that need to be incorporated into.
And your key word is that they didn't need turning lanes at this moment. But if they put in 152 houses, it's too late to put in the turning lanes. You know.
It would be up to the county to put in a turn lane in the future.
So that's a flaw that, you know, the traffic study as of today, not after they've put in 152 houses.
No, they factor in the growth, the growth, background growth, and once this is fully built out, and they evaluate the opposing traffic, and so, but that's not to say there's more development in the area, and, you know, the opposing traffic increases, and a need is generated for this.
I'm like Commissioner P, that I have a hard time in conscience putting that many houses in this area with the current road situation and knowing the area.
Commissioner Beavers.
I don't know if you have access to get the soils maps, but
Yes.
I just know this area is very limited on what can ever be developed out there. I know a lot of concern is the future in that area, how much traffic we're going to stick on it, but I think it's pretty rocky.
Yes, let me turn off the. So that's Mr. Beavers is correct. So if you look at the suitable septic soils in the area, I guess I'm out of time. These orangish ones are typically suitable soils for development.
So
And
it's
you can,
very scarce.
yeah, so it's hit or miss. You know, once you get into town, you see better soils, but obviously they're on city sewer there.
So
and
that
other
whole area
places.
is going to be very limited on what can be done in the
Yes.
future.
Yeah, there's certain, you know, that soils, roads, water, potable water, just all kinds of factors in this.
Can you zoom back into that, please?
Yes, ma'am.
And also just point out the area that we're,
It would be this large lot.
okay, I just,
And this, I believe this L-shaped lot, and then this rectangular one. This is the septic system for Baird's Corner here. So it's, they're utilizing this area and some of this other area south of that for their step system. And you'll see on the map kind of reflected here. This is their suitable soil. And again, these are just USDA, typically soils that you see are good for septic systems. But, you know, it takes a soil scientist to go out and map it and make sure it's adequate. So, and then you also have to factor in flood zones. There's not any on this property, but, you know, there's several flood zones around. You know, everything goes into the mix.
can you show the aerial of just what's underdeveloped surrounding the property too?
Yes, ma'am. I'll turn off the soils. So you can see there's the Baird's Corner subdivision, and then just parcels from around. And you can look at the aerial image as well and see what's been cleared. Either it's too rocky, too steep, or too wet. And if a farmer hasn't cleared it and worked the land, there's one of those three reasons is typically what's happened.
Commissioner?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to deny due to inadequate roads at this time. It's a little premature. There's no, there's limited development of this source close by. I feel it's not safe, the curvy roads, for that many cars to go back and forth, the inadequate infrastructure. And we are, I think it's bad planning to put this in this area, this density in this area.
I have a motion to deny. Do we have a second? We have a second. Further discussion? Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Jeff Phillips? Yes. Mike Cush?
No.
Lee Vogel?
No.
Charlotte P? Yes. Trey Gooch?
Yes.
Jason Beavers?
No.
Amber Brown? Pettis Reed?
No.
Motion fails.
We're back on original discussion.
Mr. Chair, so Doug, and Doug and Mike, let me make sure I understand. A third-party traffic study said that there was no improvements needed at this
Well,
time.
the applicants, their engineer did the traffic study, which made that recommendation, which was then submitted to our third-party reviewer, which agreed with their recommendations of the.
So two traffic engineers agreed that no, at this time, no improvements were needed.
That's correct.
Okay. If we wanted to argue about the need for a turning lane or improved entrance, does that have to be done now, or can that be done at the construction phase side?
Well, I think ultimately now is probably the best time. Now, if it's something, we have seen this in larger developments where you kind of do evaluation upon each section as it's submitted. You know, if things have changed, that's an option as well. I know it's something we've done in the past. Now, again, I don't know if we've done it for something is, not that 150 lots is a insignificant number, but we've seen that like for larger, like maybe like the Del Webb or things like that. We've seen similar type things. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, was it something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So as it got to a certain number of lots, then it's, okay, we'll look at the traffic study again and see if any other improvements are necessary. But, I mean, we've never seen one for this view that I can think of.
Right. So let me add something to the mix. One of the players that I've mentioned, I don't know that they've seen the safety audit yet, the highway department. I don't know for certain that they will say, yes, we'll work with you, or no, we won't. So I think we need to talk to the highway department and get their take on these improvements and see, are they going to work with the developer, or are they just going to say, no, y'all need to take care of everything yourself? So that's typically something we'd look at the construction plan phase. But if there's a lot of anxiety about the road network, I mean, we could maybe put this off a month and have the highway department, a discussion with the highway department.
That's a major point, that the highway department hasn't even been contacted about this yet.
It has originally been, our last time was in May when it was deferred for these specific.
Correct. And again, that was due to the recommendations of the safety audit, and the planning commission at that time wanted to see what the recommendations of that audit was going to be, which we do have now, which we presented tonight or today.
Doug, I mean, do we have any requirements in our thing where they would have to redo a traffic study every 3 to 5 years? I know some places have that requirement, but.
No, we don't.
Well, Mr. Chair, I guess now I'm between a rock and a hard place. I'm torn between to make a motion to approve, or I'm torn between to defer, to have a discussion with the highway department, because the whole issue does seem to focus on the traffic issue or the road improvement issue. And I don't know that we all have enough faith or have heard enough promises yet from the developer on what they will intend to do, nor have we heard aside from the highway department. So, Mr. Chair, I guess the question is it acceptable to ask for a deferment even though sounds like we've had one already? Is that acceptable, Doug?
The state law does provide a certain amount of time between when it's originally considered and the approval, or action, I should say, on a subdivision plan like this. Now, this is a little different in the fact that there were some additional issues that the planning, or information the planning commission wanted, that just took time to get done. So I think it might be prudent to ask the applicant, this far in the game, like, would another 30 days to the, well, actually, we got to think about that, because a lot of it's going to depend on the time. You got to remember, in November, December, we don't meet but once. So the next meeting is actually just in a couple weeks. So we've got a meeting on the 10th, and then we have one meeting in December, which the date I don't have off the top of my head. So it might be a good idea to ask the applicant if they're willing to enter into another deferral and allow us an opportunity to sit down with the highway department. And it'd probably be prudent to have them in the room as well, so everybody's kind of in the same room. I think that'd be a...
So I think what I heard you say was, realistically, if we could get everybody at the table, we could revisit this on our next evening meeting on the 10th.
That's possible, yes, sir.
If that's acceptable to the applicant.
We are agreeable to the deferral at this time to allow some more time for the highway department.
Then I would make a motion to defer till our next evening, November 10th?
Why don't we just, it is, but why don't we just at this point just say, let's defer it and let us work with the applicant on that? Because we may get into it and says, well, we need more time. They may say December rather than bring it up specifically and say it was going to be over the 10th. Then we have to come back and say, well, we have to defer it again. Let's just defer it for now with us working with the applicant and the highway department on that, rather than give a time frame.
And just for the record, I would just like to put out there that the developer and the engineer has certainly clearly understood our concerns, and if they would contemplate any additional improvements on perhaps a turning lane in and out. I'm not saying that's a requirement, I'm just saying I'd like for you to take a hard look at that.
We'll look into it.
Second.
Thank you.
So we're deferring for 30 days?
Let's not put a date, amount of time on it. Let's just defer it and let us
It's
work
just
through it.
deferring it until we can get that contact made with the, so I don't think we actually need a motion.
I think we should, just to formalize it. Yes, sir. We should have a motion.
Okay.
I think there is one, isn't there?
I have a motion back here that
Second.
we're
Second.
just deferring at this time, and we have a second right here. I'll just, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed, so it will be deferred for that period of time.
Mr. Chairman, before we move on, I'd like for county commissioner in that area to be included in some of those conversations, if that was possible.
I'm sure we can make that happen. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, item 2, Boyd Property Subdivision, 251005, 83 total lots on 66.12 acres, zoned RM, located along Floration Road. FD Nashville Incorporated is the applicant. Mr. DeMasi.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. The applicant is proposing to divide this tract into 83 lots, 76, which will be for single-family residential homes. The remaining lots, similar to the last application we just considered, will be for common area stormwater detention step lots. Again, this is zoned RM, so the minimum lot size is 15,000 square feet, and these are standard lots in the RM zone. This is not a result of a rezoning application. Main access is going to be along John Bragg Highway with a secondary access point to Floriton Road. Commissioner P. had mentioned this a little earlier when he was up here. There were some earlier designs that show a possible connection to Coleman Road rather than Floriton Road. However, after future consideration after that, that wasn't going to work, so they went back with the Floriton Road. There have been several design changes to this. Originally, there were some areas of the roads that exceeded our block length, 1,600 square feet, or linear feet, excuse me. They've since addressed that and removed those. So in regards to that, at least, this has been amended to meet the county's regulations regarding block length. There was a traffic study that was submitted for this project and also was reviewed by our traffic consultant. We can discuss those in a little bit more detail here. I don't believe any turn lanes were recommended off of Floriton Road. However, I would say the vast majority of the traffic that's going to be coming in and out of here is going to be along John Bragg Highway, either going to the east or heading back to the west toward Murfreesboro City. So you can see there's already a right turn lane. There's a right turn lane being recommended there at the corner of, it looks like Floriton Road and John Bragg Highway. You can kind of see there's a little call out right there in the middle, kind of the middle. Mike's kind of got it where yeah, that area right in there. So they are recommending some turn lane improvements along with some right lane turn with and left turn lane with storage. So you are seeing some improvements there. This entrance does not have a lineup with the existing median cut, which was the reason for those other improvements there to allow the people in and out to come into this development to be able to use that existing median cut there, rather than, obviously they're not going to change the location of the median cut for this, but those improvements should help with the traffic in and out of this development. This item was originally on the July 28th Planning Commission agenda. It was removed prior to the meeting. There was information that was provided by one of the neighboring property owners in the area regarding some of the cave systems that are located on this property. There's been a pretty fair amount, I would say, pretty large amount of analysis that have been done on this particular development in regards to the underground system. There also have been some changes made to the design to reflect that. I'll let Mike delve into that just a little bit deeper. But with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Right, and thank you, Doug. So Doug is correct. We had a neighbor was concerned about the cave system in the area, and the development team contacted Dr. Albert Ogden to evaluate a few of the caves in the area, and you can kind of see the road making a little curve around one area here. This is one cave that they've mapped, and I'll just kind of zoom in and show you. They reflected, something happened to some of the drawing, but it was incorporated into the plan. They will fence this off. Dr. Ogden did go down in this cave and look at the height of the ceiling above and the depth of where the cave is going. So he did map this little cave system here. And we had concerns about it, so they've moved the road network and removed any lots from this area, and this will be fenced off here. There's another large sinkhole kind of on the southern edge of the property that we've asked them to remove the lots from this area so it can be fenced off as well. Some of the sinkholes that will be repaired, so essentially excavated out and then rebuilt by the direct supervision of a geotechnical engineer. So there are several sinkholes. They have incorporated some into open space areas. Others will have to be repaired to build on top of. But let's see, I think that was the only, yeah. You can look and see, there with the topography, it is pretty karst, what we call, a lot of openings that they will have to work around or close. Several areas are shown on the plan here. And like I said, some areas are just considered open space and left alone. So Doug is correct. They will have to make a lot of turn lane improvements. We have had meetings with TDOT on this. We'll have to get everything squared away with them. So because their main entrance on John Bragg does not line up with a median cut, they will have to put turn lane movements in. So, residents and visitors will have to circle around to get to the main entrance. Florton, likewise, they've got an entrance there. It shows a dual one way in and left and right coming out. Yeah, but no turn lane was required for the traffic and the future traffic on Fullerton for their time window for their traffic study. And it's very close to the other development. You can see the Kittrell Glen is up here, and the Boyd property is down here on the south. This is John Bragg. This is the development property here, Fullerton here, Holman Road over here.
Mike, can you point out the other development, please? I missed where you pointed.
Okay, so it's this parcel here. This John Bragg. This is Woodbury Pike. This is Baxter, Ringwald, Frainer, but it's this big parcel here, and this L-shaped one, and this one. So, and the other parcel is right here, so it's not far.
Mr. Chair, the difference in these developments is one is on John Bragg Highway with sufficient roads, and there's no good way to get to Baxter Road from John Bragg Highway. There's no direct way. And the roads are much less desirable.
Commissioners, other comments, questions for staff? You have questions for the applicant or their representative? I will, once we get through with the, I'll do that. Any questions for the developers? I'd like for you to come forward if you could. Mr. Matt Taylor.
Thank you, Chair. Matt Taylor of SCC. I've also got my clients here with me as well, if you've got questions for them. Doug and Mike did a good job explaining the project. We've done a very extensive study. We did both traffic study, which showed extensive turn lane improvements on John Bragg Highway, both coming from Murfreesboro at our entrance as well as onto Florenton. And then we've also got a left turn lane at the median opening coming from Woodbury back toward our part of town. That was a TDOT requirement to incorporate that. We think that basically everybody's going to come in and out of, come into the property off John Bragg Highway there. We did do an extensive study on the cave, as Mr. Hughes said. Albert, and I think Jonathan actually from the county staff went down in and mapped that cave as well. And so we just taken that feature completely out of any lots or development or roads and going to leave it as a natural feature on the property. So again, if you've got any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
Mr. Brown?
I'm curious on just inside of the development. I do appreciate the improvements that will come with the roadways, but aside from the stop signs, what other traffic calming measures are going to be inside of this development? Because that is a pretty long stretch. So my biggest concern is just, of course, speed, because that's a lot of the concerns that we continue to hear now within the neighborhood. So we want to address that now as we start looking at developments.
Yes, ma'am. So we tried to incorporate curves into the road as soon as we potentially can. The property that is going out to John Bragg is just a finger. The Boyds, the property owners, are going to maintain that almost 11 acres, just like they're going to maintain about the 20 acres that fronts on Coleman Road. And so we do have some jogs and curves in there, which tend to slow people down whenever you can start to make them turn a little bit. It's hard to see at this scale, but there's a TVA tower right in there, so we also had to work with TVA on our access there. And so there's actually there's a bend or a curve in the road as you come in, right around the TVA tower. And then once you get into the development, we've got multiple curves. All those curves do meet the county subdivision requirements, but those are the things that we're trying to do.
So across this whole stretch, I can't think of the name of is that Ravelston Place? So all across Ravelston Place, are there any stop signs through there aside from the bends and the curves that you mentioned?
So we have a stop sign, obviously, whenever you get to, I think that's Rayburn, on the eastern side of the project. And then I believe that we made the intersection.
That's for the incoming traffic,
yes,
right? Or
no, ma'am. So I can't draw, but will you circle it or put your hand at the intersection right there at like lot 17? So there's one there, and I think that we made the intersection where lot 46 and like lot 2 and 3. I think we made that a three-way stop there. Yes, ma'am. So we have a three-way stop there at lot 2. So there's a stop sign for all three directions of traffic there, and then we also, I think Rayburn has I know that Ravelston has a stop sign there at Rayburn.
Commissioner?
You've identified a cave and numerous sinkholes. Are you confident that you've identified all the sinkholes, and what is the procedure in building? Are you building on top of those sinkholes?
Some of them are, and so the sinkholes that we left open, the one on the southern side of the property that Mr. Hughes was talking about, kind of in behind lots 9 through 12, that is a very substantial feature. I think that is probably 20, 25 feet. I mean, it's very steep. It's a impressive feature if you've been out there. And so we wanted to leave that alone. The others are much more shallow in nature. Some are much more like a closed depression. And so we will be repairing those with a geotechnical engineer. The only open throat that you could actually go in of any consequence was the one that we left on the south side, and then the cave that Mr. Hughes talked about earlier right there. The rest were much less defined features. They're much more of a closed depression type feature, but we'll still treat them as a sinkhole. Our geotech will observe it being dug out, and we'll refill it. And that's something we do every day. Our clients do every day in Rutherford County and Middle Tennessee. Matter of fact, my partner Jamie, not the house he's on now, but the previous house, he built on top of a sinkhole doing the exact same thing we're going to do here. And it's still standing 20 years later. So we're very, very comfortable with that.
Chairman.
Matt,
Yes, sir.
once again, thank you for being so thorough and
Yes, sir.
coming before us prepared to answer the questions that you know that we would ask. The homeowners association will be in charge of the lots that are not built upon.
Yes, sir.
So tell me about the HOA. Will these be homes be sold to individuals?
Yes, sir.
I don't want to get into another Las Casas Highway type of thing.
Yeah, I understand. And I don't think that my client has a builder in tow right now, but the ones that we have talked to are very much build to sell to homeowners. It is not a for rent community.
And is there a committed type of construction such as?
That we have not, because we've talked to several different builders. The most recent builder that we've talked to has, the gentleman's name is Oliver Constable. I think he goes by the name Surrey Homes. He lives in Smyrna. Him and I think his last name is Dr. Burns, have actually developed a lot of stuff in Smyrna together, done 1 or 2 projects in the unincorporated county areas as well. Everything that they have done, that I've seen them do, has been brick-type homes, very substantial. I've never seen them do anything that's of a rental nature. It's always been a for-sale product. A lot of what they have done has been in Smyrna between Lee Road, along Lee Road, and Rock Springs Road, that area.
I don't know if this is legal or not, but I'm going to ask you when you come back for final plats, if you could specify in there what type of building materials will be included, I would appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Other questions? I like your confidence about that you have someone that builds on top of a sinkhole. I've lived with them all my life,
Yes, sir.
but I would never build on top of a sinkhole. I've been in them. I've pulled cattle out of them, and I've lost the front end of a tractor inside of them. And there wasn't a sinkhole there the year before, and it just suddenly appeared. And I respect them. I'm sorry. I have to say I do respect them.
We do too. Like, I say that we're very confident, but we're very confident, and we feel like we know which ones to leave alone. Like lot 81 that you see there, we're leaving that one alone. But the ones that are on lots that are less substantial, we feel much more confident in those. So they're much more shallow depression type. So I do appreciate your concern there as well.
All right. Any other questions? Mr. Taylor? If not, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Chairman P.
Well, I hadn't planned to speak a second time, but couple of questions were asked that made me feel like I needed to stand up and speak for just a moment. I want to talk about the roads again, and I'll talk about the roads over on the other side of John Bragg that were 18 and 19 and 20 feet wide. How wide's your fire trucks now with mirrors? Yeah, 12, 14 feet. Well, I remember driving those roads and my mirrors hitting limbs on both sides at times. A couple things that y'all didn't ask about the roads over there is, have you talked to the county solid waste people? I don't think you have. If you have, or if you do, ask them how many of their trucks have flipped on these roads out there. I guarantee you there's more than one. One I know of because I witnessed it. And the reason for that is you've got those narrow roads, but they have no shoulders. You step off the corner of that 18-foot, and you're in a ditch, and you're usually flipped. And if you're doing 30 miles an hour, you're going to be in a mess when you get that tire off the road. But anyway, you also didn't mention whether you had talked to the sheriff's department about the number of accidents in these areas. You know, so you need to talk to the solid waste department. You need to talk to the sheriff's department. You need to talk to people that live in that area. And that gets me back to the other side of John Bragg. When we put John Bragg through, or the state did, they basically built a dike all the way across all this area here. And there is a lot of water that flows right in that area. Where you got Weeks Road, there's an actual culvert there, but there's a mile or two that you basically put up a dike. The cave system, I applaud them for digging into that. I actually sat through the meeting with Dr. Ogden. Only problem he said that he saw is if there's a collapse and all of a sudden that water can't continue going where it's going, it's coming bubbling up. And I have sinkholes on my property. I own property adjacent to the one, as I told you before, and the other properties that I own. And most people in this area have sinkholes. They come, and sometimes you'll get surprised when your tractor falls off in the front end of them. I've had that happen too. Anyway, I just wanted to caution you about these turn lanes. And I actually voted against this when this came to the county commission, of us allowing y'all to have a turn lane study done every time. Now, we were doing some of our own, and I have no problem against turn lanes, but to take their word of whether you're going to allow something to happen or not is a mistake. I'll give you a prime example. Most of you probably know out 96 where Wheeler's Market, I don't know if it's still Wheeler's Market, but there's a Dollar General there, then there's that big subdivision just past it that's all rental property. I asked for a turning lane to be put there since that's my district, and they did a study, and guess what the study said? Well, we don't need a turn lane there. Can you imagine, any of you imagine trying to get in and out of that area right now without that turn lane there? There's actually a medical center and an emergency room going to be built right up the street from that. And they're talking about not putting a turn lane in there. So whether a turn lane is approved or not by a study doesn't mean that those things can't change, and the need for a turn lane in the near future come up. In that general area we're looking at, I know of 6 active subdivisions and a 7th one that's been mentioned to me. So there's 7 more subdivisions, and let's just say another 50 to 100 houses. You know, we don't need turn lanes out there, guys. I appreciate what y'all are doing on this particular property, the Boyd property, about working on those turn lanes there, and that's important, not for just now, but in the future. And I would caution you guys, when you're looking at these recommendations that we don't need a turn lane, I think you need to talk to the people in that area. If you really want to know about the property in these areas, talk to the farmers that have farmed that land, and you'll find out whether there's flooding there. You'll find out if there's any other hazards that you might need to know about. But anyway, I just wanted to caution, especially on taking the advice of us not needing a turn lane, especially when you haven't talked to our sheriff's department or our solid waste department to see what they've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, time for further discussion, further questions, or a motion concerning this piece of property. Commissioner?
Even though this is on John Bragg Highway, which is highly traveled, this is a dense, very dense subdivision, which we have for 3 years discussed trying to keep the dense development toward town. And if this was closer into town, I would have no problem supporting it. But, point out where it is on John Bragg Highway out in the county. Are there any, and do you have subdivision maps? Are there any other dense developments around this parcel?
Commissioner Pete, when you're talking about a dense development, I guess, is there any other, just right around the immediate area, no. Now, to the north, with that last piece of property we just looked at, you do have Barrett's Corner, which is a similarly zoned development, 15,000 square foot lots. I will reiterate, this is not a planned development, so they are proposing the same minimum lot size that's allowed in the RM district, which is 15,000 square feet. So these are about a minimum third of an acre. They are using a step system, so obviously a lot of the area that they have to reserve a certain amount of area for soils. So up Richland-Richardson Road, you can see there is a planned development up there. Richland Downs, I believe, and then to the north of that, there is Thompson Downs, I believe it's called. That one, Thompson Downs, is not a planned development. That one it's actually zoned RL, but that was developed at a time when we allowed for a density bonus
Doug,
to
I want
RM.
to point out, that development, I still get phone calls with people in the area that they feel, and I support them in that feeling, that should have never been on that road. That development on that curvy of road, and they're run off the road by traffic, that is, yes.
Well, I understand.
In my opinion, that was an error on our part that I'm trying to prevent again.
Right. I was just answering your question, Commissioner, I'm sorry.
Doug, does this meet all requirements of the zoning district it is?
As far as lot size and the different requirements that we look at as far as subdivision requirements, it appears to. I think there may be some tweaks that are left over, which is not unusual when we come here. A lot of times we will recommend approval subject to staff comments. There's still a handful of small items they need to address. But a lot of the concerns that we had on the front end before this even came to the Planning Commission with the traffic study, with the caves and all that, I do believe that they have worked to handle those issues to the extent that they can.
I'll make the motion to approve with staff comments.
A motion approved with staff comments. Do I have a second? Have a second. Further discussion? Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Jeff Phillips,
Yes.
Mike Cush, Lee Bogle,
Yes.
Charlotte P. Trey Gooch,
No.
Jason Beavers. Yes. Amber Brown. Yes. Pettis Reed.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion does carry. Moving to item B, submitted for site plan approval. Item 1, SRM Storage Building, 253023, construction of a 4,000 square foot storage warehouse on 4.34 acres, zone LI, located along Hickory Grove Road, Holland's Head Development is the LLC, is the applicant. Mr. Demasi.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Planning Commissioners will recognize this property. This came to us earlier this year. It was approved by the Board of Commissioners, the zoning for light industrial at their June 12th, 2025 meeting. You'll recall that the building and site improvements were constructed prior to the property being rezoned. This site plan is an effort to bring the site into compliance with county regulations. We have reviewed the site plan. We did send our comments also to the applicant's design engineer, who is present today. Most of the revisions have been made. There may be still a tweak or two that need to be taken a look at. I know there's some issues with the entrance into the development off of Hickory Grove Road. That might be a little too steep as far as it coming off the road into the development itself. But with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions, and like I said, the applicant's design engineer is present.
Commissioners? Questions or comments? Anyone here representing the site? Good morning.
Chris McGuire with Huddleston Steel Engineering. I'm here to represent the project. Happy to answer any questions I can.
Chris, and Mike, can you clarify what the concern was about was it the slope or elevation from the road down to the site?
Sorry. The entrance, I'll show you. It is very steep. And we need to get clarification from the fire marshal, make sure he's good with that. We don't have a slope on this entrance here. We asked them to profile it, and they have, but we don't know the slope of this just yet. But you can see it drops several feet from the road. We just want to make sure a fire truck can get in and out adequately. Yes, sir. I did have some issues about getting the whole site into the proposed stormwater pond, and they've added a curb to capture the runoff to get it into the pond. I'm feeling a lot better about that. Those were the main things, and just essentially building a building without permits or site plan approvals was our biggest angst.
Yeah, when we ran the profile, it's an exaggerated scale, so it's a little steeper than it actually is, but it's about 13%, which is pretty steep. So we're happy to work with staff to make whatever improvements the fire department feels they need.
So if you feather that out, does that create then a hydraulic or a stormwater issue?
No, sir. The site's significantly lower than the road, so it'll really just be a little bit high. The driveway will be a little bit higher, and we'll just chase it until we get back down to grade. So it might raise the road for first 100 feet. Drive, excuse me.
Driveway will be blacktopped.
It's concrete currently.
Other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you all for your time.
Commissioners, comments, questions, or a motion?
Move to approve with staff comments.
Motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Further discussion? Please call the roll.
Jeff Phillips?
Yes.
Mike Cush? Lee Bogle?
Yes.
Charlotte P? Trey Gooch?
Yes.
Jason Beavers? Amber Brown? Pettis Reed?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion does carry. We now step into staff reports and other business. Mr. Demasi.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just a couple of items. The first, and this will require just a little bit of explanation here. We're discussing the possibility of making a small amendment to our transfer station regulations. These regulations were approved within the last couple of years, specifically because of the county looking to develop their now existing transfer station over at the county's landfill. At the time, we looked around at some of the other areas that have regulations for transfer stations, kind of get an idea of what kind of regulations we should place. We also talked with our former solid waste director, Bishop Wagner. We had him look over the proposal that we were handing forward for you all to take a look at, and asked him if these things made sense and if it would work. And he made some potential changes and things that we incorporated. So we appreciated him for that. As you can see, what we're looking at right now is, and I included the regulations in your agenda just for your reference, really more than anything, really leaving those alone. But what we'd like to do, considering that this is handling, municipal solid waste, the only other classification that we really have that anything for handling municipal solid waste is sanitary landfills. Those sanitary landfills and also transfer stations are classified as extensive impact facilities. And Mike, if you could scroll, I'll just take the mouse if you don't mind. Thanks. And this is Appendix B of our zoning ordinance, and you can see extensive impact facilities is right here. You can see on the screen. I'm going to kind of highlight this area right through here if I can keep my hand steady. So what you can see is, of course, the different zoning classifications are across the top. And then you've got N, which means they're not permitted in that specific zone. P means they're permitted, and SE means they're permitted by special exception. The only zone that extensive impact facilities are allowed in, as you can see, is P right here, permitted, which is in the heavy industrial zone. But you see that little asterisk right there. So the reason for that little asterisk is down on this next page. You can see specific uses permitted by special exception only in the marked districts. One of them being sanitary landfills. In other words, sanitary landfills are also classified as extensive impact. So although those uses are allowed by right in heavy industrial, if it's a sanitary landfill, they would have to have a special exception. They couldn't do it by right. Mini warehouses is another example. That's why when we look at mini warehouses in commercial zones or office zones, I always say it's not a permitted use by right. That's the reason why. So what we're recommending is, again, since transfer stations are dealing with municipal solid waste, and they are classified the same as a sanitary landfill, it really makes more sense to classify this in a way that is similar to the sanitary landfill and make it a use only by special exception in the heavy industrial zone. So what we would propose to do is just add a small little blurb right here, specific uses permitted by special exception. There'd be sanitary landfill, mini warehouses, and then we would add transfer stations there. So that is an ordinance amendment that would require a public hearing before the Planning Commission and the Board of Commissioners before any changes would be made. That's not something I can just add in there, but I wanted to bring that to your attention and see if there was any questions on that.
I think it's a great idea to continue to have a special exception where we at least get a look at it.
And I will say that when you notice the back here where extensive impact facilities are, there are two other zones where they're allowed, but they're also by special exception, and that would be in the commercial general or the light industrial. When you look at just the amount of those type of zones that we've got in the county, there aren't just a whole lot of areas where something like this could go. And there are special regulations for transfer stations that they have to meet certain distance criteria anyway. So we just think, like you said, Commissioner Beavers, that it would probably be a good idea that way, regardless of what zone they're in, something like that with that much potential impact would probably be a good idea to have another look at it. So that's the reason we're really looking at that.
Any other comments?
Then with your permission, we'll go ahead and put this on our next agenda because we do have 3 rezoning public hearings. I don't think any of them, famous last words, I don't think any of them are going to be overly controversial. So we'd be able to add this on there. And I think this would be a relatively minor item as far as any public input's concerned.
Okay, sir. Anything else?
One other item, of course, you know that the Planning Commission adopted Plan Rutherford. There was we had a meeting after that at Public Works Committee to let the Public Works folks know of the action that the Planning Commission took on that and our desire to move this to the full County Commission for a public hearing. There was a lot of discussion during Public Works. After the discussion, it was voted that, yes, we are going to move this to the County Commission level. And at our last County Commission meeting earlier this month, the date was announced for January the 22nd. Of course, with a public hearing for any potential adoption, you have to advertise at least 30 days in advance. We're getting toward the end of the year. We're dealing with Thanksgiving, then Christmas and New Year's. We just thought it'd be better to wait till after the first of the year. So mark your calendars for Thursday, January 22nd for the public hearing for Plan Rutherford before the County Commission. And that's
Okay,
all I
sir.
have.
Thank you. Just a reminder that our next meeting will be November the 10th here in this room at 6 o'clock p.m. It'll be a night meeting. With no other business, right over here, Mr. Chairman.
Meeting scheduled for the rest of the year?
Yes, sir. For Planning Commission, we've got 2 more meetings this year. The meeting that Pettis had just announced, which is the November the 10th, and then our December meeting will be December the 8th. Those are both evening meetings. So we don't have any day meetings in November, December due to the holidays. So those are the last 2 meetings we'll have this year.
Okay. Anything else? If not, we're adjourned.